Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and thank you so much for stopping in. And for those who are just joining us, welcome. So I'm struggling. I'm totally struggling. It's like I'm exhausted. I'm still kind of fighting something, a bug or a flu or something. I don't know. Part of me just wants to go to bed the minute I get home. Another part of me doesn't know how. Like, I don't know how not to do this video because I committed, but did I commit forever? I mean, it was supposed to be for 100 days. And then I said, well, I'll continue if other people want me to. But did it mean every single day? Is it enough to check in twice a week? I don't know. I don't know how to find a balance yet. And then, I committed to doing the rebounder challenge. And so even if I'm exhausted and my muscles are hurting, probably because I'm sick, I'm afraid not to do it because, oh my gosh, I'll fail. It's such a catch-22. On the one hand, I can't stand failing, and I feel like a failure all the time because I don't feel like I measure up. And on the other hand, I fear success. I was looking up an article. I looked up a couple of articles on the opinion of whether fear of success is a real thing. One of them said fear of success is completely real and that often people who have experienced trauma, success is just too similar to the trauma, like the excitement that was generated, and not a good excitement, whether it's, hypervigilance, whether it's an insane amount of fear, whether it's the adrenaline produced in the fear. Like for me, I'd have to wait in line for my spanking. And in hearing other kids cry and scream and whatever, I was just an absolute wreck by the time it was my turn. It was insane. It also said for kids who may have been sexually violated that sometimes for people it promotes a sexual response that in some way the excitement of possibly succeeding can go. That was a little too far for me. That didn't really work for me at all. But on another article, the guy said that fear of success is a total farce and that people are just afraid to work hard. I don't know. I've never really been afraid to work hard. A lot of it I think just comes down to self-acceptance as usual. Because I think when someone's told you that you're never going to be successful a zillion times, that you're not enough, that you're never going to be enough, that you're like a poor excuse for a human being, like these ingrained messages from your earliest days, that as much as you never wanted to believe it would be true, that as you approach the potential to turn that around, to maybe prove them wrong by being successful, that house of cards just collapses. And suddenly everything you knew was true isn't. And then what? Right? And then what? I mean, if you have the grace and the courage, you fill in the gaps by building a new story. But depending on who you're living in, whether it's your adult in the present or your child in the past or somewhere muddled in between, there's a chance that you won't be able to fill in those gaps. So for me, I'm not sure what it's about. It's really puzzling for me. And I'm not being what's it called? Arrogant. I'm not being arrogant in saying that I, across the board, by all accounts, am considered exceptional. Meaning I have an uncanny ability to learn and grasp information, which I never even knew I had, because I was so busy surviving as a child in so many ways. And again, I'm not blaming my core family or my siblings or anything. I'm just saying what my truth was, because a lot of what was going on, they weren't even privy to knowing. But I was in survival mode, and so I was class clown, but I still was super able, so I was also class president, which was a paradox in itself, in 8th grade, 12th grade, in my sorority in college. So I really couldn't find balance there. I had a tremendous amount of gifts to offer, but was scared to death that if I offered them, it would fall apart, and it did fall apart sometimes. Life did not allow me to not take the risk to participate fully. So I was always trying out for all the teams. I was always auditioning for all the plays. I was always running for office. I mean, even at 19, I was president of the Seal Beach Homeowners Association for the city of Seal Beach. Needless to say, I did not own a home at 19, but someone had discovered in the bylaws that you weren't required to own a home. And so at 19, they flew me for that. And I won against the mayor of the city, which really infuriated a lot of people. And for the next 4 years, I served in that position. That's a story for another day. But the thing is, life has always promoted me to the front of the ranks. But when I've made the choice myself, like, it was only 3 years ago that I decided to go for my master's degree. And I was in the height of being just abused in every way by a principal that I'd had for several years and told me that I was not enough and that I would never be enough and that I wasn't even called to teach. And I dared to do that master's degree, and it kind of freaked me out. It's going to make me sad, partly because I'm tired and don't feel well, but what freaked me out was that sorry, it's still so vulnerable to me. It freaked me out because a bunch of really intelligent people from all over the world, they recognized me as being intelligent. And they recognized me as having something to contribute. And I'd been told for years that I wasn't enough, that I was less than, and that my word didn't matter. And I wish I didn't care, but this person was in a power of authority. And so kind of like a parent, of which mine could be verbally abusive, to say the least. I fell prey to it for years. And I wasn't in a position to leave, per se. I mean, one could argue I could have quit, but... So all these people from all over the world were saying, wow, what a scholar, what an intelligent person, what a contribution. And I just ate it up because I couldn't believe it, but I was scared to death for every paper that I did. Am I going to get an A? Is it going to be enough? I'd get 100% out of 11 classes. Sorry, this is still so raw. But out of 11 classes, I got literally 100% in the entire class. Every paper, every challenge, everything, the entire class, 100% out of 100%. In 6 of those 11 classes. And in the other 5, I didn't lose more than 10 points. And every time I was scared to death. And 11 professors told me I was enough. And I was still scared every time I submitted a paper. And then I went right into the doctorate program. And no surprise, straight A's. But with my straight A's, I was scared to death. Fudge, man. It just sucks. It sucks. I wish it wasn't true for me. It's true for me. So after a year, I quit my doctorate because I was like, what am I doing? I've already been affirmed by the, elite educational community that I'm enough. So do I really need to keep jumping through hoops for whom? But does it mean that I fear success? I was as successful as anyone could ever pray for. Do I have my doctorate? No. Do I feel called to be Dr. Juliana McCants? I don't know. Because it's so hard for me to know what's real or what my motive is. So how does that carry over into my food? Well, do I not feel that I'm worthy of being regular weight, completely healthy, stable in my food? Or am I that same person that was forever told that I'm ugly, that I'm fat, that I'm not coordinated or enough? Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. I'm just processing, but I was just thinking about that. I'm not afraid of hard work. I think I'm just afraid that my house of cards will collapse if I accept that those myths about me weren't true. So I pray for the grace to live long enough to work through some of this and to have some freedom. And if I can touch lives, great. But I can't worry about being accountable for every single day of a video, even though I do love the creativity of it. But it's not my full-time job, right? Or whether or not when I'm too sick to jump, if I can jump because I promised I would. I'm one of those people that if I make a promise, it's forever, right? But things have to be reassessed. So I'm just processing aloud because I do feel like it's a fear of success. If I'm successful, I will break all of those mistakes, right? But I do accept also that with success is work, of course, of course. When you get on the other end, there's other expectations. But anyway, it's all still so raw for me. Raw being the key word, right? All right. So anyway, thanks for letting me share. If you understand any of it, feel free to share in the comments. I'd love to support you. If you have another perspective, I'd love to hear it. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. I'm tired. I'm going to jump anyway because I said I would, but then I'm going to bed. And in the meantime, my friends, peace be with you and be blessed.